In the fall of 1975, I was running this 60-foot fish buying boat, and October was the end of the season, and I let my crew go, and my girlfriend from Seattle flew up to help me bring the boat down. You know, she wasn't a boat person, never spent much time on boats, but it was a 60-footer, reasonably comfortable. So we left Petersburg and we're following the Inside Passage down. Pretty mild trip. Occasionally we'd get a breezy day, but we just anchor up. We didn't want to travel when it was stormy. Well, just about halfway down the coast is this place called Queen Charlotte Sound, big, wide, 40 miles wide, exposed to the wind from all directions. Can be a nasty place, and you always try to wait for good weather. So, we got a good forecast, and we left this place called Bella Bella in the morning. It was this perfect still morning, and went out into Fitzhugh Sound, the next wider channel. Wind's starting to blow a little bit, but it didn't seem very serious. Start getting out in there. Egg Island is the next stop, and 15 to 20. Not that great, but still, the weather forecast was good, so we kept on plugging away. Well, we got halfway across to this place called Storm Islands, and here comes this emergency gale warning on the radio. Gonna blow 50 in Queen Charlotte Sound, and well, we were halfway across. We just thought we might as well keep going, so we pulled into the lee there, out of the wind, just to kind of check things over, because I knew once we got out into it, I'd be hand steering. The automatic pilot couldn't handle it. So I, check the bilge, check the engine, make sure everything is okay. So then we got out into it, and it was just, nasty, blowing 40. Sometimes there'd be these periods where you just slow down and just wait for the big ones to go by and hope something didn't come over the bow or through the windows. Very anxious, starting to get late afternoon. Then there's this spot called Pine Island, and in those days, it's a lighthouse. It was inhabited then. It had a crew on there, and we got in the lee of the land there and just kind of checked things over again and looked up into those cozy windows, and man, I wanted to be in there instead of out, where we were. So the last leg is into a place called God's Pocket, and it was just so nasty. We got there just at dark. Lucky to still have our windows, because it was, taking seas over the bow. Well, we pull in there, and it's full of boats. I mean, there's no room. And just as we get in there, the steering wheel goes loose on the shaft, and I go alongside this big Canadian, okay, because I got to fix the steering wheel. Well, just in the 15 minutes that we were alongside this guy, there was so much of a swell coming into even protected God's Pocket that we chewed through 2 almost brand new 3/4 inch tie-up lines. But finally I got the steering wheel bolted back onto the shaft, and we left. And the Canadian on the boat said, hey kid, there's a place around the corner that you can lay that's got pretty good protection. So now it's almost dark, and once we got out into, it's called Golettis Channel, once we got out there, it's probably blowing 50 and just blowing the tops off all the seas, and just coming on dark. I mean, my heart was in my throat. My girlfriend, she was lying in the bunk. You could look over there and you see these white eyes looking up. So finally we got in this place, this little cove in Browning Passage, and dropped the hook, got the anchor down, and the wind's just howling, but there's no sea in there. It's just wind and rain. So as we got the anchor down, I could see 2 other boats come in, okay? And one of them had plywood across his pilot house windows. So he'd blown a window out. So obviously it had gotten even worse since we'd gotten in. So there we are, have a nice dinner, and even though the wind's howling and you're a little anxious, in situations like that, you know, because black night, you're just hanging on your anchor, but you know, the anchor was holding, and you know, so go to bed, and we're lying in bed, and then I hear this weird noise. It's something like this scraping noise, and I'm just lying in there going, that's odd. And all of a sudden, wham! This jumped up, and this other big boat apparently had dragged down on top of us, and the noise was his anchor wire crossing our anchor wire. So, you know, jump up, put your oilskins on, go out there, and of course outside it's like someone is out there with a fire hose. You know, had to re-anchor in the middle of the night. You know, it took 2 tries to get it re-anchored. Finally, you know, didn't sleep the whole rest of the night, and we were so glad to get out of there the next morning. It was just, I mean, that's just another story of crossing Queen Charlotte Sound.